Blessings, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Night Alive. This is our time every week to come together and explore spiritual things, to talk about how to free our souls, how to untether ourselves from the world of effects and forms, worry, doubt, and fear. Yeah. So hi, David. Listen, if you're here with me or coming on, please do check in. Do say hello, so I know that you're here with me. Otherwise, my name is Reverend Denise Schubert. This is Sunday Night Alive. It is. I am the creator of A Life of Spiritual Power, which is I created in order to have conversations just like this one, so that we could move towards the awakening of our own lives, authenticity, power, freedom, and also do our best to contribute to a world that can work for everyone. So it's always my pleasure to be here with you. We're completing, we've been studying the Untethered Soul at Unity of Naples, where I am a part of their spiritual leadership team. And we concluded it today. So we're going to share a little bit. It was really fun, and it's such an important message. So some of you have had this conversation with me before. Some of you had this conversation with me this morning, but I promise you something new tidbit will come in. So let me speak a word of blessing. Let me speak a word of blessing on our time together. Even though I'm here and streaming to you live from Naples, Florida, and you may be in Naples, you may be in North Carolina, may be in California, you may be in Arkansas, you may be, who knows where you are. You could be anywhere in the world. That when we come together, we're coming together really on the unseen side of life. We're coming together in consciousness. And for any of you who know me, I want our time together to matter. It should make a difference that we are together. So when I speak a word of blessing, it's really to unify us in a certain way so that a transmission of energy can take place, a transmission of ideas in religious science or in New Thought teachings. We talk about consciousness. We talk about mind, not like my mind and your mind, but that we all exist within a field of consciousness where everything can be known by everyone and anyone. So we are individualized points of consciousness in that conversation, but in some mystical and really important way, your mind and my mind are connected, and our minds and God's mind are connected. So it's really a beautiful thing. So let me just take a moment to invite you to join me here, fully releasing your day, fully releasing the rest of your evening, uh, simply allowing ourselves to exhale into this only moment that there ever is, this amazing moment of now, and to be together in ways that matter, to have it make a difference. So I know that we come together within the consciousness of the all good, the consciousness of the infinite, that we are surrounded by, sustained by, maintained by the creator of all things. I call it God, and I love calling it God. I love the word God, 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 God. But some people don't, so you can call it whatever you want. You can call it the Atman presence. You can call it universal intelligence. You can call it unconditional love. You can call it quantum physics. You can call it anything. But I know that it's from that place that we come together, and I bless our time, knowing that it is perfect and whole and complete, as are we in this moment. And so it is. So, so today, we actually, the topic of the day was unconditional happiness. I don't want to really focus on that, but it is a radical idea. This idea that we can choose to be happy no matter what happens in life. We can choose to be peaceful no matter what happens in life. Michael Singer says, we are on on a planet in the middle of absolutely nowhere, that surrounded by galaxies and galaxies, and that we arrive in this place on a certain date, and we were born, and we will die. We don't like to talk about that or think about that, but that is the case. We were born and we will die. And this in between time is called, I call the dash. We have a dash, born August 7th, 1951, died whenever that will be. And in the middle of that, there is a dash. And the dash is our experience. The dash is what we're doing here. The dash is how we spend our time. The dash is the what we make of this opportunity we have requested and been granted to be alive on this planet with each other today. So he says, why not? Why not be happy? Why would you waste the opportunity by suffering? Why would you waste the opportunity by being sad? Why would you waste the opportunity by wishing things were different than the way that they are? And I think that I think what I want to talk about tonight is really this key idea of this particular philosophy, faith, and way of life that I'm a minister of, which is called New Thought. Unity is a New Thought church. Centers for Spiritual Living is a New Thought church. The Agape International Center is a New Thought church. It is a modern American theology, and it has two primary premises. The first premise is the reimagination of, or the re-articulation of, this idea that we call God. And it's a primary cornerstone of our philosophy because the world, in at least in the Christian Judeo world that we live in, there is an overarching belief or an overarching teaching that God is out there and we're over here, that God is all powerful and that we are subservient or less than. There's this idea that God is judgmental, that we were born in sin, and so we spend our whole lives trying to make up for that fact with some hope and some promise that our eternal journey will somehow be worth the sacrifice and suffering that we endured here on this planet. And as I said today, we need to drop kick that idea right out of our lives. We need to truly. It is a source of so much pain and so much suffering and so much uh, so much uh, so much suffering. I was listening to something this week in which somebody asked the teacher uh, whether or not whether or not they had ever had a conversation with God as a spiritual teacher. And he had said that he said he wouldn't answer the question because he said it doesn't really matter whether I've talked to God or not, because you won't hear, you can't, if you haven't talked to God, it won't mean anything to you at all. But this idea of a creator that could create us to suffer or to create us to sacrifice is a crazy idea. It just creates so much mischief on our planet and so much mischief in our culture. So the first idea really in this New Thought idea arena is to reframe what we think is the glue that holds us all together. First of all, you arrived here as an original blessing. You are made in the image and likeness of God itself, whatever that means to you. You were made by the same thing, whatever that thing is, that made everything, the planet, the elephants, the flowers. You are imbued with the essence of the divine. And because that's true, you are an original blessing. You were created to be expressing all the qualities of that which created you from within you. So if we can shift our idea about that, life immediately and automatically will become better. It will become more, it'll become safer. It'll become more reliable. It'll become more trustable, because then you walk around knowing that you're, first of all, that your birth, the dash is just an experience. It's like a parenthesis in eternity. It's not like you didn't exist before you were born and you won't exist after you die. It's not possible. Energy does not, nothing happens to energy. It changes form, like water can boil and become steam. Water can be frozen and become ice, but it's still water. Same with you and I. Right now I'm occupy a body that I call Denise that has had these experiences, but I'm very clear that if I were to die tomorrow and you cremated me and put me in a box, that which I am, the essence of me, the personality of me, the part that is not in the box. It's just the bones, right? So so the first idea is really that love made you, happiness made you, joy made you, peace made you. And this idea that we have to sacrifice or suffer in order to have a good afterlife is just pure nonsense. So please join with me in kicking it out the door. So you have the freedom here. You have the freedom to be happy. This book, I love the words, as you know, Untethered Soul. So the word tether is normally used to describe what you do with an animal, like you tether a horse to a post. Like in the Western movies, you would tether a horse. You could tether an elephant to a pole at the circus. So the untethered soul implies that our soul is tethered, that the true essence of us, the authentic us, the real us, is tied down somehow, is tied to this material idea of the world, and we're wanting to release it. Right, where the image I chose this week were balloons. We're wanting to allow ourselves to soar in this lifetime, to be happy. I mean, not just happy. I mean, truly joyful, joyous, and happy, and curious, and interested. And the second idea and main thought. So the first idea and main thought is that God is a loving, compassionate, giving God, that there's nothing that you have to prove. There's nothing you have to do to be worthy. There's nothing that you are already exactly the way you are supposed to be. And if you have made mistakes in this life, or had bad experiences, or had hard experiences, that doesn't change that one iota. It's a little bit like a parent. If you're a parent and you have a child, or if you're a person and you have a dog, that that child and that dog, that you just love them unconditionally. You just love them so much it hurts you. It's like, oh my God, I love you so much. You are so beautiful and perfect in my eyes. That's how God sees us. We are perfect in its eyes, and we are loved and beloved in ways that we cannot know. The second main idea in New Thought is that we are not at the effect of the world that we live in. That we are not at the effect of the society we live in. We're not at the effect of our past. We are that we are co-creators, and that God, and not because we're so great, but God gave us tools. That God, we are kind of God in the flesh, and we're walking around with the capacity to co-create our existence here. Now, this is such a huge idea, and it sounds silly, but wouldn't it be? I mean, what if you really believed that you had a right and a reason to be here, that you were loved beyond measure, that you could not die, that your essence, your beingness is eternal, and that you are here to have fun. You're here to experience what it means to live with trees and animals and birds and babies and flowers and rainstorms. Because on the spiritual side of life, I don't know for sure, but that those things may not actually exist on the spiritual side of life. Maybe we are not embodied, that we have no bodies, so we're just pure spirit. I'm pretty sure that's probably true. So in this in this capacity to create, the tool of creation is you, your whole being, your consciousness, the totality of you, how you feel, what you think, what you believe, how you behave, what's true for you. Jesus said, "It is done unto you as you believe." This is the most important thing that's ever been said out of anyone's mouth ever. Because if you believe life is hard, life is going to be hard for you. If you believe you're a sinner, you will live in life like that's true. So I'm here. I come here every week. I come here. I talk and teach and preach every chance I get to try to convince all of humanity that that is not true. That you have the capacity to, first of all, to change. And that's not even simple. That's not simple, right? Haven't you heard that over and over, that people don't change? That's like a mantra. People don't change. That's not true. People, yeah, of course you can change. It's simple. You just change your thinking. Now, this begins with a conscious intention, because most of what's creative is below the surface. They're your hidden beliefs, your unconscious, subconscious beliefs. That's really what's creating. So if your life doesn't feel the way you want it to feel, or doesn't look the way you want it to look, then I can guarantee you it's not because the outside circumstances aren't right. It's because something in your unconscious, subconscious is creating something you don't want. Now, we could go into the pathology of why that is and who said what and what happened to you as a child, but you don't have to do that. You can simply, through your will, which is a God-given gift, declare a new reality for yourself and go about the business of creating a life that you want. So between those two ideas, one is that we are not victims of circumstance, and that we are surrounded by and indwelled by a loving presence that truly is pretty mysterious and ineffable. Like a little, nobody's ever really seen God, but you remember that there was that joke. There was a little girl so there was a kindergarten class, and they were in the class drawing. They were doing a drawing exercise, and the teacher, Mary, was walking around and says, and is looking at all the children's pictures, and she walks up to Mary and she goes, "Mary, what are you drawing?" Mary's 5 years old. She goes, "I'm drawing God." And the teacher says, "Honey, nobody's ever seen God. They don't know what God looks like." And Mary looks up to the teacher and goes back to drawing. She goes, "Well, hold on, they will in a minute." You know. So the point being is that nobody's ever seen God, but God, whatever we're talking about, is real. We did not make ourselves. We did not make the planet. We're not smart enough to do that. We didn't design the human body. We're not smart enough to do that. We didn't create the rotation of the planets. We're not smart enough to do that. Something else did that. And we are simply here as part of that creation. And we have every right to be happy. Now, one of the important ideas today that we talked about is that the world conspires against us and our happiness in many subtle ways. One of the ways is just watch primetime television, and with every commercial, you will find out why you're not happy, because you haven't bought their beer, you didn't buy the deodorant, you won't be happy until you have a house, bigger than your next door neighbor. You can't be satisfied unless your 401k. I mean, do you know how horrifying it is to go to Yahoo, and you all know what I'm talking about. You go to Yahoo and it says that if you don't have $1 million, your retirement is going to be terrible. Now that's a ridiculous thing, but how many of us have anxiety because we don't think we have enough money? How many of us have anxiety because we don't think uh, we have the right Medicare plan? How many of us, our happiness is totally stripped from us uh, because we're incomplete. Society says you are incomplete. You cannot be too satisfied, too fulfilled, too authentic, too happy, too peaceful because you're incomplete. You don't have what you need. It's not true. You have everything that you need. So we're going to, if we want to be happy and fulfilled and satisfied, we're going to have to make our own rules. We're going to have to find our own inner strength and our inner commitment and our inner dedication and declare ourselves to be enough, declare ourselves to have enough. So, wow. So, my computer is going to run out of power in 1/2 seconds. So, can you excuse me for 1 second while I find a plug and plug it in? I'm so sorry. Hold on. Don't go away. Pray amongst yourselves. All right, I'm coming. I'm coming. Here I come. Here I come. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. I'm coming. Coming. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Well, that's embarrassing, but I'm going to be happy anyway. All right. Sorry. 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 Mhm. So, so in Michael Singer's book, he really does. He really does. It's just such a beautiful idea. This idea of a declaration to be happy, a declaration to be satisfied, a declaration to be fulfilled, a declaration to be curious and interested, a declaration to be authentically who we are. Um, he says it's such an unreasonable thing to see that we're whirling around on a planet in the middle of nowhere and to spend that time that we're here unhappy and suffering. And it doesn't mean that things don't happen. Listen, we've all had our share of heartbreak, right? Uh, in many ways, life is heartbreaking. I mean, we've all had losses. We've all had lost people we love. COVID created a whole lot of unhappiness for a lot of people. But, you know, it is possible to have events happen in your life and not be taken down or out by them. It is. I am living proof of that, really. And so there is no doubt in my mind that we're not talking about something that's airy fairy or something that's unachievable or something that's unattainable. It is a decision we make. In fact, I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, happiness is a decision that a person makes. Are you willing to be happy? So the other issue with happiness really is that we're all um, a little committed to people liking us and approving of us and thinking we're good and nice and helpful, but you others are also oftentimes the source, a great deal of the source of our unhappiness. And if your happiness depends on other people, you're kind of in a whole lot of trouble, because I'm going to tell you that there isn't anybody, and I don't care who it is, Other people are not here to make you happy. They're not here to make sure your life goes well. They're not here to to monitor your experience and your feelings and do all the right things so that you won't be upset. And in fact, the truth is that an unawakened person, people who are sleepwalking through life, which means completely in the egoic state, not realizing that they have a spiritual nature, that person, those people are not even thinking about you. You think they're thinking about you, but they're really in their they're really in their own life doing the best that they can do to navigate this path that up until the time we wake up a little bit seems just like a lot of hard work. Now, uh, this is not a bad thing or a wrong thing or something to change. It's just something to be aware of, that nobody is responsible for your fulfillment or your happiness except you. That's it. Nobody. So if you don't commit to your own happiness, whatever that means, whatever that means, you can just ask yourself the question, like, what makes me happy? I was doing a class last Thursday, and not everybody knows what makes them happy. Not everybody knows what they want and what pleases them and what would make for a good life. I love asking the question. So I'm 72 years old. I know some of you are older than me and some of you are younger than me. But I love asking myself the question that if I were on my deathbed, if this were my last day on earth, or if I knew I had 4 more weeks to live, what would make my soul so happy? How could I untether my soul from the day-to-dayness of life and be free? And I love answering that question for myself because it tells me what to do. It tells me, oh, you're not in nature enough. Maybe you need to go to the botanical gardens. Or no, you're not being with friends enough. Maybe you need to call somebody and go out to dinner. Maybe you need to go back to Africa, which, by the way, I'm going back to South Africa in March. I booked it 2 days ago. Uh, but uh, the answers will come. Now, is it easy? No, because you might have to disappoint someone. You might have to quit your job. One of the quotes I love the most is Bill Gates, not Bill Gates. Oh my God, not the Microsoft guy, the Apple guy. Oh, for God's sakes, I'm blanking his name. At any rate, he says, I wake up every morning and look at myself in the mirror, and I ask myself, self, are you excited and enthusiastic about going out to do what you're about to do today? And oh, Steve Jobs. And he says, if the answer is no, too many days in a row, something's got to change. But listen, if you changed an untenable situation after a few days, life would be bliss. Most of us live with intolerable situations for years and years and years. So I would love to just to give everyone permission to be happy and to do what makes you happy and to be what makes you happy and to just to turn away from the teaching of negativity, the acceptance of sacrifice, the glory in subverting your own life for the life of others, for not remembering that you have a dash that you are wanting to make the most of. So if I succeed in doing that to any degree whatsoever to at least one person in my entire life, then it makes me feel pretty happy. And it also is a practice that allows me to embody this for myself when things come up. Everybody always wants, how do I do this? Reverend Denise, I'm in a terrible situation. You have no idea what I'm going through. How can I be happy in this situation? It's like, well, the other thought to remember, the other idea to remember in this whole new thought construct is that circumstances change when we change. If you stay the same, the circumstances stay the same. If you don't change, your life will be exactly the way that it is 10 years from now. As Abraham Hicks used to say, that it took a million thoughts to get us where we are. A million thoughts. Some of them, and it doesn't matter where the thoughts come from. Listen, we all had childhood experiences that left us believing things about ourselves that aren't true. We all had childhood and life experiences that have created bad memories and fears and tentativeness and self-esteem problems. Everyone, 100% of all human beings, it's the ego's job to keep you miserable. So the ego is going to tell you how faulty you are every chance it gets. We've all had that. But we can all, at any time, just commit unconditionally to our happiness. Commit to it. And if you do, Michael Singer says that it is the highest path there is to your spiritual growth and development. Because if you commit unconditionally to living a good life, to having a happy, fulfilled, meaningful life, unconditionally, that you will not let anything outside of you deter you from your mission, then the organizing principle in life, we call it the law of mind, but that which creates everything, will begin to create circumstances and conditions which match your commitment. That you will not only be happy if you commit, but you will begin to architect a life that contains the people, the places, the events, the vacations, the education, the jobs, the money, the health that you want. It's just truly how the world works. Nobody ever told us how the world works, so we've been kind of, fumbling our way along. I fumbled my way along for half my adult life. But that it can change. And when it changes, when we change, it changes. And when enough of us change, the world will change. The world will be a more peaceful, loving, compassionate, kind place when we are more peaceful, compassionate, kind, loving people. Yes? Are you hearing me out there? So I love, Meister Eckhart was a Christian mystic, and he said, joy is the evidence of God's presence. So if you believe in, this could also say happiness is evidence of God's presence. Peace is evidence of God's presence. Joy is evidence of God's presence. Health is evidence of God's presence. If you were to allow yourself to let the ego relax, like put the ego where it belongs, which is subservient to the spirit trumps the ego. If you were to step into identifying more fully with the creator of all life, as I said today, this thing we're calling God is not depressed, is not angry, does not get sad, is not, at least in any way, daunted or dented by your bad behavior, right? God doesn't care about if the events are bad. God's not over there going, oh my God, that's such a terrible event. Oh, woe is me. God's not going, oh, woe is me. So we don't have to either. We can simply be in life, watching life, stepping through life, dealing with everything that comes up in as most loving way that we can, taking care of ourselves when sad things or bad things happen, because they will. Life will happen. Fewer bad things will happen, by the way, when you're in charge and when you're less blown around by life. But still, things happen. Animals, our pets die. We lose people. People move. They leave us. We get fired. Our house. God, a million things can happen. But knowing that they happen, can you be happy even when they happen? Can you let your unconditional commitment to happiness continue to be in the forefront of your awareness? You will move through sadness and loss much, much faster. And you'll be healthier and happier. And you'll be more interesting and to people who are around you. So anyway, so that kind of completes our Untethered Soul conversation for this month. Quite sure. I'm looking for a book. I want to kind of do a book study, I think. But at any rate, let me pray us out. I think we're complete for the evening. I feel complete. For those of you who are joining me from Naples, you've heard this twice today, so you got a little reinforcement from behind, which is very good. We cannot be reminded too much to let don't. There was a book. Remember the book from the 70s or something? Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the news. Don't sweat what society says. Don't sweat what um, the consumer story says. Don't sweat that stuff. Just stay present to who you are inside your body, and to really commit to doing everything you can do to stay on the affirmative side of life. Your whole life will change. You will have a different life 1 year from now if you can do that. All right. So let me say do a prayer to pray us out and back into your evening. If you are interested in doing a love offering or a donation to my ministry, you can do that to revdschubert@gmail.com through Zelle, Venmo, or PayPal. And if you're interested in spiritual coaching or conversations, you can also reach me at that same email, revdschubert@gmail.com. Otherwise, this concludes our lesson for tonight. So take a breath with me. And just for a minute, just see if you can feel a sense of well-being, a sense of being satisfied right in this moment, missing nothing, lacking nothing, nothing broken, nothing needing to be fixed. See if you can feel your spirit, if you can feel the presence of God within you, the presence of love, unconditional peace. We close our evening with gratitude for the conversation, gratitude for the remembrance, gratitude for the reminder not to get too caught up in the world of form, the world of effects, not to get too caught up in what other people want, not to get too caught up even in what you want from a historical ego standpoint. We are spirits. Free. We are free. We are free to feel, free to be, free to do, free to say, free to experience, free to create, free to architect, free to navigate. We're free. So may you go forth and express your freedom bodaciously and authentically this week, and have a darn good time doing it. So with these words being released, we let them be fulfilled within us and around us. And we do this together by saying, and so it is. Amen. All right. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I look forward to seeing you whenever I see you next. Peace and blessings.